ever since Venerable Zippel told me in the beginning of my stay here that the guests here usually also do BBCs, I was either breaking my head over a possible topic I could talk about, or coming up or trying to come up with good excuse not to do it. Well, here I am. I double-checked with Venerable Zippel, and she suggested that I talk about a few things. So, yeah, this is what I want to share today with you, just a few things. After I made Buddhism quite a few years ago in 2004, I was very quick in taking the full layperson's vow. It was very easy, came natural to me. I had no issues with that. And also lived in a semi-monastic community, so I saw other Westerners around me, Western nuns and monks and Tibetans, of course. But and the thought of ordaining came up at some point, but it was always something very far in the future. So I couldn't really see it happening anytime soon. So, and then while I was in this semi-monastic environment, over time I was asked sometimes, again and again, why don't you ordain? Or even, you should become a nun. And I thought, yeah, well, maybe in the future. So I always, saw it happening maybe, several years further on. And it took me quite a few years. I don't know, maybe it was, obviously it was a lack of merit, maybe, I don't know. And I had always, whenever I was asked, why don't you ordain? I had always quite some arguments. Why not? Until I eventually had a very nice conversation with a lovely geshe. Some of you know Chuni and Semkye, Tenzin Dojila. We met in Bodh Gaya, it was, yeah. And he was one of the people encouraging me actually to take ordination. And then I came there to him with my whole list, of arguments such as the robes are not practical, or if I'm a nun, then I have to show up for all the pujas, which I'm not so fond of, to be honest. And so on and so forth. But I guess the biggest concern that I had was, well, as a monastic, we are, representing a whole tradition. People have their expectations. Can I live up to their expectations? And if people approach me with certain questions, can I answer them properly? Can I answer them at all? So I had all these concerns, and then Geshe-la, clarified all of my doubts. It was really, really helpful. It was a big stepping stone on the path. And then it took yet another, I think maybe 9 months or so, that I offered service in Bodh Gaya in a Dharma center there. Having endured, quite a bit of heat and humidity and crowds and dirt and noise and tons of mosquitoes biting you at night. So, but I must have accumulated some merit during that time that all of a sudden, out of the blue, I got the notice that my teacher was giving ordinations next week. So I had a bit of work to do. For 2 days, I was really day and night. I was debating with myself. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But I mean, I could actually see that I had to do it because I took the lay vows in 2006. And then it was, 12 years later. So I was living in a semi-monastic community. I wasn't really the typical lay person as such anymore, I felt. And it was like a smooth transition to ordained life. And I just couldn't say no to this opportunity to ordain right there in Bodh Gaya with my teacher. I just had to do it. It felt very, very right. And it was really indeed a smooth transition. And I guess only those people of you who have ordained can really understand that it does something to you, and there's something really there's something very precious being transmitted from our teachers, from his teacher, all the way to the Buddha. Really blew me away. And I have had no regrets ever since. and I felt much more comfortable in robes. Really, I found myself in some situation. I was really, really happy during the pandemic when I got stuck in ceremoniestry. I felt so welcome. They granted me special permission to stay with them, and I felt almost like a part of them. It was very, very touching. They were very kind and caring. And now I find myself in Sravasti Abbey, and I'm very, very grateful to each one of you. It was a very valuable experience on my part, and I hope I can see, I do see yourself, I see all of you as my role models, and I hopefully one day I become like you. And like I said just a little earlier, I really want to take that with me, of course, learning more about the precepts and trying my best to somehow, live according to them. In the best way that I can, but also definitely letting go more and more of that mind, that wishes to do what I want, when I want it, or not to do something what I'm supposed to do, but really going, seeing the greater good of the community, being, doing things that are good for the community, and just doing it with the benefit of other sentient beings in mind. So this is what I want to share and take with me. Yeah, this is what I want to share.